Alright, so now that I have Lily pretty much ready for the frame to go in, I'll take some important measurements from the inside so that way the roll cage will definitely fit in there. And pretty much after that, we'll just not worry about the fitment and just focus on the roll cage, because that's the important bit, that's the safety bit. So we'll completely build that, and then after that's completely built and ready to go, then we'll worry about fitting Lily on top of the roll cage. Picked up some steel the other day. It's about a 27mm outside diameter, and it's about a couple of mil thick, so should be strong enough to build the cage. I've started to bend the main hoop here, but I sort of stuffed up with the measurements and now I have to fix it, so it might be this angle here a little bit off. That's about 90. Finish the main hoop. It's a little bit off. I might play with some of the settings on the pipe bender, but we won't be doing too much bending, but this will have to do. I don't want to waste too much steel. And it fits me sitting inside with the helmet on good, and it should fit inside Lily. Right, here's the main hoop inside Lily. We might have to trim a bit around here to fit it in a bit better, but it does fit quite nicely in there. Just finished welding my first piece. I'm not getting any closer with the camera because it's not the best, but it'll do. So this is sort of where the front dash will be. Like if the main hoop's like this, this will be just in front of my feet. I've cut the two long frame rails there. They're about 2 meters long. It is going to be quite long. Now I've just cut this bit, and this will get tilted up and welded there. That'll go directly underneath where the main hoop goes. I just got to notch both ends and put that in, and then from this top bit here will connect down to the corners of that. Right, I'm getting a lot of work done on this. It's going pretty quickly at this point. Sorry I haven't been showing much, especially the welding. I'm not too keen on destroying my GoPro with how bright it is. I'm not sure if it will, but I'd rather play it safe. I might show some. Okay, I have both sides cut up. I did want to make this side a bit longer to try and bend it sort of back level, but that really hasn't worked, but it's really all I can do. That looks square from this side, but from the front you can tell that this bit here wasn't welded on the square. Okay, this main part of the roll cage is all fully welded up. I still have to put in like door bars and the harness bar there at the back and some other bracing in there. I'd also like to tell you that I'm going to be using 2 rear axles for this, just because of the amount of power and torque we'll be making. I don't think 2 tires would have enough grip, and they're just going to spin like all the time constantly. So I'll add the second axle. That'll give us a heap more grip. It'll also make the whole thing longer, so it won't wheelie as much, so we should be able to go a bit faster. So now what I got to do is I'll just sort of have these big supports that go from here to the rear axle, and then with this big diagonal bar we'll then be able to brace down past, say, these 2 engine mounts, and then down past the rear 2 engine mounts as well to secure the engine in there. And there'll be a heap of bracing at the back for the rear axles, because they're quite a lot wider than this. I think it sits out pretty much at about that width. It is quite wide. But now that everything's starting to come together, welds like underneath the frame that I'm doing now are becoming a little bit awkward. Alright, just finished welding those two big diagonal bits on. Now it is super sturdy. Alright, I was trying to bend this before, but sort of stuffed up measurements, and then this bend didn't go to plan, and then it was too long. I sort of had to cut it and weld it back in the middle, and now I just gotta notch the ends and it should weld on. It is a bit long though. Alright, I got this back bit in. I did have to bend it a tiny little bit in the middle here so that way it would line up alright, but this will be what my harness attaches to, and I imagine the seat will be right up close to that, and eventually I'll brace it as well. It'll go up from here and then up to the top just for more support. At the moment I'm working on, I guess, some door bars, so on this side I'll just have an X, but on the other side, so that's the side I get in, needs to be lower, so I think I'll try and do like a, I guess, a NASCAR door bar, and it'll just be like one low one at the bottom with a little brace in the middle. Alright, we got the axle, or the bearing holders welded on. I just sat the axle in there. It turned out pretty well. That's pretty much exactly like this big rusty bit here and here for where they used to be. So we'll keep that dimension the same. And then the third bearing holder will go probably about here, and it'll go directly next to the sprocket. Alright, now I'm going to work on this, so I'm just going to cut these front little bumpers off because I want something a bit bigger than that if I'm going to put a bumper on, and then probably cut a couple of these extra little bits off, and then what I'll do, I'll notch these two ends there and they'll sit up against the frame, and then there'll be another bar that comes from here down to about this corner here. Got the front piece here tacked on. It's getting pretty close to becoming a rolling chassis. Okay, I just cleaned up the weld spots, so now since this is just hanging out here, we're just going to reinforce it by putting a bar from here up to this corner here, and hopefully that'll be strong enough to keep the front of the cart up. But I might do some more later on, because you know we will be doing some wheelies in this. Alright, I'm officially ready to put the wheels on this thing. Okay, here it is. It is officially a rolling chassis. It moves back and forth. I know the steering isn't connected and the axle isn't completely done up, but it still rolls. I can still sit inside it and it'll roll down a hill, kinda. Right, now I just gotta wait till I get the second axle, weld that on at the back. But probably in the meantime I'll start mounting the engine. That'll be a bit tricky, you know, having to lift up the engine while welding in engine mounts. Right, I'm sitting in the go-kart at the moment. I'm trying to work out the steering, so what I think I'll do, see the mounts before for the steering are down like that, but that would put the steering wheel too far back in the cab. So what I'm going to do is just cut those little supports off, probably about there, and that'll give us enough room to turn the wheel without my hand hitting the bar there, and it won't be too far back in the cab, and then it'll also let me keep the stock little steering rods there. I'll just wind them out a bit and that should fit in the thing down there. Alright, I got the steering wheel tacked in there. it's pretty good. I just need to extend these a little bit and it should fit right in there. Alright, the wheels turn. You might be able to see when we turn the wheel, the back wheels lift up, which is what we want. This steering wheel is bent. I was going to get a new one anyway, probably a nice little quick release one if I can, but it will at least do for now, but it definitely needs replacing. Alright, before I put the engine in, I'm going to go around with the wire wheel and clean up all these welds and put some paint over them just to protect them. Alright, I got those welds painted. Eventually I will go over the whole chassis and give it a nice finish. Next thing I'll have to do is put the engine in, and the way I'm thinking of doing that, so the engine has 4 mounts. So there's one here, 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 and here. And especially since these last 2 are so close, like into the middle, I think what I'll end up doing is I'll have a bit of flat bar across here, and then at the end of the flat bar I'll have a bit of round pipe, and that'll go off onto one of these diagonals here. So that way, with 4 on each side, so that's 8 engine mounts altogether, the engine should be very well secure. Okay, and yes, I do still fit inside here. It's very tight. I can still move the steering wheel, which is good. It is going to be hard to drive. We should have room for pedals up there, but that'll be all for this episode, I think. So thanks for watching.